Technology and Computer Literacy by Bonnie Smith. The first chapter of the book provides many examples of how technology is used today and covers some of the ethical and social issues caused by technology, how technology is changing our lives. The goal is to convince you that computers and technology are useful enough for you to learn about them. The book later covers what makes up computers and how they work. This is a brief overview of those chapters. However, hopefully this will help you clarify some of the aspects of the computer. Computer has two major components, software and hardware. Hardware is just that. It's hard. It can be touched, like a system unit or a monitor. Software are the digital instructions made up of bits, binary digits, a bunch of switches like lights being either on or off. Without the software, a computer would not work. It's just a bunch of electronics and equipment. So the body of the computer is the hardware, while the thing that gives the computer life is software, the soul. Typical computer hardware physical components are in four different categories: input, output, processing, and storage. The hardware is covered in Chapter 2 and again in Chapter 6 in more detail of your textbook. Input devices can include things like keyboard, camera, microphone, output, monitor and printer, processing, the motherboard, CPU, and memory, and the storage is things like the hard drive or a CD. Hardware typically can be touched. It's a physical component. You may not be able to touch the cloud storage, but there's a computer on the internet with a hard drive holding the file stored in the cloud. There are many types of hardware components, but every computer has the four main categories. Some devices can be considered both input and output, such as a touchscreen. Typical computer software components include system and application software. Those are the two major categories. The system software runs the computer and includes operating systems, file management, things like that. The application software, you've probably heard the term apps, include things like word processing, educational software, games. Application software is discussed in Chapter 4. Most of the time you're using application software programs such as Word or Excel. These slides were created in PowerPoint, another type of application. There are even applications for calendars, keeping time, measuring heart rate, and almost anything you can imagine. While you are using applications, the system software is running the computer, helping you store files, print, and displaying information on your monitor as you work. System software is discussed in Chapter 5. System software includes operating systems such as Windows or iOS used on an Apple computer. There's even system software for smaller devices such as cell phones. How does a computer work? Well, the four processes include input, process, output, and storing have both hardware and software components. The computer gets data, facts, figures, images, or sound, that's the software portion, from an input device, like a keyboard, mouse, microphone, or camera. That's the hardware part. The computer then takes that data and processes it into something useful. This is referred to as information. So data is raw facts and figures. Information is useful. This could be a photo, budget, or perhaps this presentation. After processing, the computer can print or show you the results of the processing via some type of output, displaying on a monitor, printing, anything like that. If you want to keep the information for later, you can store it, usually to a hard drive or USB drive or even online. Storing online is referred to as cloud storage. So what are computers used for? Well, variety of items. This list that I have on the screen barely covers what you can do today. It's just to give you an idea. Many other items that are covered are in Chapter 1 that you may not have thought of. But things like surfing the web, watching cat videos, searching for information, using email, creating documents, playing games, all of those things can be done on a computer. Connecting computers together is called a network. Networks are discussed in Chapter 7. The largest network in the world is the Internet, which is covered in Chapter 3. Computers create a digital lifestyle and involve all types of media that have basically changed our lives. That's covered in Chapter 8. And there are some issues caused by technology. Technology has a bad side. Computers can create ethical issues. A user can be injured just from using a computer physically. Someone can steal your information, invade your privacy, and computers can be used for crime. How can we deal with these issues? Ethical issues created through the use of computers is discussed in Chapter 1 and a bit in some of the other chapters. Chapter 2 discusses ergonomics, or how to avoid injury from using a computer, what you can do to stay healthy. And Chapter 9 discusses several security issues, such as computer viruses and social engineering. How can you protect yourself and your privacy?